Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another installment in this series, Family Time. A special welcome to those joining us via Facebook and YouTube Live. Thank you very much for making it Love 101, the family station. And of course, thank you for making it Family Time. So, Family Time is about your issues and your relationships, your at home family, your community family, and of course, we take it global, your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim here at Family Life Ministries is to enable healthy families that will lead to healthy nations. Hope everybody will stay with us, join in via comments, of course, on our social media pages. You can do those on Facebook and YouTube, as I have mentioned before, and of course on Instagram as well. So let's talk about our guest. The last time this guest was here, because yes, she's become pretty much, I can't say repeat offender because it's a good thing and we're happy that she's joining us each and every time. But the last time she was here, she would have spoken about when to avoid marriage. Being good Jamaican Christian people, I can imagine that some of us decided not to take her advice. So here's what she's gonna do to you when she comes on. All right, so that will not happen. But yes, we're happy to have our special guest. And of course, we're going to be talking about building trust and commitment. So, yeah, trust and commitment. We want you to join in and send us your comments. Please do so to this question. How do you, not your friend, how do you build trust and commitment in your relationship? I'm assuming that you have it or that you've worked on it. So, how do you build trust and commitment in your relationship? Let me remind you that you can also use WhatsApp to send us your comments. You can use the text feature or you can send a voice note. If you are sending a voice note, however, it should be no longer than 30 seconds. I know we have a lot to say, but let's try to crunch that into the 30-second window that we have. And you can call the studio lines as well. You can call 876-968-8327 or 968-8328. And for WhatsApp, before I forget, the number is 876-997-3125. And yes, I'll remind you, text using the posts on Facebook and WhatsApp. When we get back, we're going to be talking to our special guest. Can you guess who it is? I'll let you guess. I was going to tell you, but let me see if you can remember who spoke about when to avoid marriage. Come back with me after this break.
Win a bag of cash for back to school with Alliance MoneyGram Money Transfer. Every MoneyGram money transfer you collect at an Alliance agent from now until September 9 gives you a chance to win a share of $2.8 million in cash.
That's a bag of cash.
10 winners of $20,000 from each parish, right in time for back to school from Alliance.
A bag of things for back to school.
Alliance, a member of Sagicor Group Jamaica. Conditions apply.
Tell me where you get the money transferred.
Alliance.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I haven't seen any posts. Let me check with the studio. Studio, has anyone posted to say who they believe the guest is? Just to be sure, in case there's a prize. I'll have to talk to my producer about giving you the prize. I don't have any for you. No. So there was no one who got the answer. The answer is Sonia Winter. Sonia Winter will be our guest today. How are you, Sonia?
Greetings. Hi there. I'm fine, thank you. How are
Awesome.
you doing today, Sir Twain?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. I'm doing well. So let me
Good.
tell
Nice
you
to
a
be here
bit
with you.
more. So let me tell you a bit more about Sonia. I'll tell you about her, but let me remind you because I want to see the comments coming in. So remember, today we're talking about building trust and commitment. And the question is, how do you build trust and commitment in your relationship? Send your comments to WhatsApp via WhatsApp to 876-997-3125. You can call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 8328. If you're watching via Facebook or YouTube Live, go ahead and post your comments there and we will share what you share. So that was a mouthful, but here we go. So, Sonia, our special guest, is the founder of Tea House Therapy. She holds a master's degree in clinical psychology from the University of the West Indies, Mona, go Pelicans, and is the only Gottman Level 3 trained clinical psychologist in the Caribbean. She provides counseling and psychotherapy, specializing in areas such as anger, anxiety, depression, panic, parenting, and of course, from the last time you know, premarital counseling. She occasionally provides therapy at Family Life Ministries. Let's hope I missed nothing. But here we
Nothing important.
nothing important. And I'm guessing you don't have any stern words for those who didn't listen to you the last time.
No, I do. I don't, Sir Twain.
All right, so here we go. Trust and commitment are words often associated with the institution of marriage and relationships in general. But they are but are they automatic or do we have to work at it? Well, let's ask the specialist to tell us how those are. Sister Sonia, do we have to work on it or can they just come naturally?
Mhm. They trust is about making a choice, and so is commitment. So these are active words, they are proactive words. You can't just do nothing and expect that trust and commitment will abide. I think it's important to first establish what we're talking about when we talk about trust and commitment.
Mhm.
And I would say, first of all, that trust is about giving your word to on something and then being true to what it is that you have said. Okay, that's the first thing, and then commitment is about putting boundaries around your relationship and being faithful emotionally, sexually, and so on to your partner, and making sure that there are certain boundaries that are not violated in the relationship. So both of these two things are they sort of support each other. They're interlocking in a way, once you're committed to somebody, you're likely to be willing to build trust through your actions over time and to stay the course in relationship building.
Okay. So just to make sure that I'm keeping up, I know our listeners keep up much better than I do, but let me see. So trust has to do with being faithful to what you say. It's loyalty.
It is loyalty, yes.
All right.
Be faithful to your word.
Faithful to your word. All right. So suppose somebody says, "Well, I never said it." Is that saying,
Well, one could say that, but the mere fact that you're being defensive about it suggests that you're not trustworthy to begin with. If you feel like you have to defend yourself in some way, would suggest that you're probably not willing to be trusted. There's some responsibility that you don't want to accept, and then be held accountable for.
Okay, so by denying it, you're proving it even more.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
So trust has to do with sticking to your word. Commitment has to do with having boundaries. You said establishing boundaries for
Having
the.
boundaries, yes, and resisting the possibility of other alternatives.
Oh, for some reason, boundaries were not the first thing that came to mind when I heard commitment. Very interesting. Okay, so
Sure.
we have to be faithful. We have to have boundaries.
Mhm.
But why? Someone might say, "Well, I figure I can survive without all of this. Why do I need to have this trust and commitment?"
So Twain, well, a relationship, if it is really a successful and healthy relationship, it can really add a tremendous amount of value. It can increase the quality of your life. I mean, and studies show that it can increase your lifespan by at
Mhm.
least 10 years, okay, on average. So there's a lot to be said about healthy relationships. Now, for healthy relationships, for there to be a healthy relationship in the first place, trust and commitment must be an objective that both parties are working towards at all times, because that's almost those things are the glue that hold the relationship together. You know, if I don't trust you, if you're not committed to me, then it's a matter of time before our connection is going to erode, and thus our relationship is going to erode. So why do you need them? Well, they're essential to keep your relationship intact and together, to harness that bond that you have in the relationship. And then the bond in the relationship is something which, if it's really a healthy relationship, is just something that can augment the quality of your life.
Okay, I was just thinking a while ago, and for some reason, I think I've heard before when persons are going at it with one another, and they'll say, "Well, me know say me can't trust you, and I me know say me can't trust you, I just saw you go." And it seems as though they still survive and they're still going on and they seem fine. Is it odd that they're saying me know me can't trust you and they seem to be committed to staying in the relationship?
Mhm.
Or is it that they, by saying they know they can't trust the person, they're really just looking for evidence to show that everything is fine. So it's really not an issue. They're just trying to work it out without knowing that they're establishing trust.
Yeah. Um, well, first of all, Sir Twain, just because two people stay together doesn't mean they're trying to work it out. They could be staying together for a number of reasons. Quite often, the convenience of it. Quite often, they're staying together because it's just too much disruption in their lives and in the lives of other people to change course now. Okay. So just because they're staying together doesn't mean that they're committed, doesn't mean they trust each other necessarily, doesn't mean that they want to work it out, doesn't mean that this is a healthy relationship. So what we're talking about is healthy relationships. Okay. And where, if you want a healthy relationship, then trust and commitment are paramount, because those are hallmarks of a healthy relationship. So if I'm saying to you, I don't trust you, Sir Twain, and I mean what I say, I sincerely don't trust you, okay, then chances are that we're not, our connection as two people has started to erode significantly. And all of those wonderful benefits that I told you about earlier that you can reap from a relationship, you're not going to reap them at all. In fact, what you're going to reap is a lot of stress, which has the exact opposite effect on the quality of your life and on your physiological health as well.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. Makes
Mhm.
sense. I was thinking as well, because I've seen a comment here that was sent in via WhatsApp which says, being fully transparent, never lying by way of omission, speaking the truth. So this is responding to the question, how do you build trust and commitment? And it says, being fully transparent. Someone may say, you know what, I'm always honest, but they don't volunteer information. So it's not um, a matter of, they're not as open, but they're always honest. Would that be enough?
You know, well, first of all, there's a lot of scientific evidence that suggests that trust is actually built in small moments between two people, okay? Small conversations where these two people are attuning to each other. Okay, and by attune, that has a I have a very attune means that, number one, I'm paying attention to what you're saying. I'm interested in you. Okay, so if we're having a conversation Sir Twain, and you're sharing something important to me, and I'm on my cell phone and I'm not paying any attention to you, already you're not going to feel safe with me. You can you see that, right? And so your trust, your feeling of trust that I have your best interest at heart is going to start eroding. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So that's one part of being attuned to somebody else, you know. Another part of being attunement is very important in trust building. Okay, it's about also being aware that, you know, my partner may have a different point of view from me, and I am going to be treated as if both of us can have valid points of view. I'm not going to judge, tear down, condemn, persecute somebody else because they have a different point of view than me. Because if I honestly just think about it, Sir Twain, if we are talking about something and you have a point of view on something and it's different from mine, and just because it's different, I start to treat you a certain way. I treat you with judgment or contempt, or I belittle you. That's an experience where, again, you're going to think, I'm not interested in you. I don't have your best interest at heart. And your trust in me is going to start to erode. Okay. So that's another part of attunement. Okay. Being understanding to me and showing empathy is another thing that can really build trust. The point is, Sir Twain, if you and I are in a relationship and you feel that I'm really attuned to you, attuned to how you feel about things, attuned to how your point of view, we might not agree, you know, but I'm interested and I'm attuned to you, willing to be understanding to you, willing to try to investigate your point of view. It's those small conversations and moments that really can build trust, you know, because of how I'm treating you. Does that make sense? Right. And then you start to feel a sense of trust. Now, if I break that trust, you know, it's when I start to do something that shows I don't have your best interest at heart. It may be lying. It may be not taking your side. It might be siding with somebody else to embarrass you, for instance. Okay, so there are many. It may be being unfaithful. It may be belittling you, abusing you. All of those things are things that make me feel you don't have my best interest at heart, and those are the things that can erode trust. Not just lying. But a whole lot more. Any action where that communicates to me, you don't really have my interest at heart, that's going to be. And if you think about it, you know, when we get into a relationship, there's either an implicit or a tacit promise that I'm going to treat you in a way that shows I have your interest at heart, you know. So once you violate that, that's when trust is on a slippery slope.
Okay, so I want to pick up on something that you just mentioned just now, because earlier you'd have said, you know, trust is almost incrementally achieved.
That's right.
Small bits at a time. But you also mentioned just now that when you enter into a relationship, it's understood that there's going to be this level of trust and commitment. So at times, could it be that we start off with giving everyone, okay, let's say on a scale of 10, 10 being the most. So we say, okay, then you seem, because we look at the person and say, you look like an honest, trustworthy person, and we're going well. So we start off that you have my trust, and then it's eroded, and it's not always going up versus you lose my trust because I thought that you were, but over time it's eroded.
For sure.
Okay.
That's right. You know, so to rephrase, when we get into a relationship with each other, the expectation is that you're going to treat me right. You're going to take care of my interests. That's the expectation. Okay. And so it's almost like we have a clean slate, as it were. And then the moments that we experience together can then build and fortify that trust, okay, between us, or can undermine the trust that we feel between each other.
Definitely. I'm clear now. I'm clear. Another comment came in, and I want to put this question to you as well. Is it okay to test my partner to make sure I can trust them? So that's the question. And I'm almost hearing you say, well, if you have to try, then probably it's not. But let me not try to pick your brain. What's your response to the question?
Well, the first thing I would say, Sir Twain, is that if I'm going to use you and me as an example, right? If you and I are in a relationship and I'm testing you, right? Chances are I'm doing something that is not entirely transparent. I'm almost setting a trap for you. So the truth is, I am not trustworthy. My actions are not trustworthy if I am going to be testing you. You know what I mean? If I'm setting you up, then I'm only acting in my own interest. I only care about whether I can trust or not. I'm not caring about your best interest and whether you can trust me. So it's a very one-sided, almost self-serving action to take. And once you start to be self-serving, you are not acting in a trustworthy way.
So the person couldn't say, but then I'm trying to give you a chance to prove that you are really up to par. So I'm trying to put opportunities in your path so that you can, really strengthen everything that we have. We couldn't look at it that way.
I am trying to put things in your past so you can strengthen my trust in you. It's all about me if I'm doing that. Can you see what I'm saying? It's
Right.
all about how I feel and whether I can trust or not. You understand? I'm not in any way, and yeah. So I think I can't belabor that anymore. I'm not interested in proving to you that you can trust me.
Yeah. So all the testers out there, I think that was your response. Another comment from WhatsApp, we're having them coming in very quick and like that. So trust, the easiest thing to break, but the hardest thing to rebuild. But cheating, in bracket, breaking that trust, is a deal breaker. That one I cannot overcome. So that texter would have told how. I'm trying to see if she said how or he said how. Maybe not, but they said that trust is something that they really need. But if it's broken by certain actions like cheating, it is hard to overcome. I want to piggyback on this question. I don't know if we're there, but I want to ask just the same.
Sure.
If we make up our mind that I can't recover from one thing for the trust to return, is that a good thing to say, well, I can't recover to rebuild trust with you after this? So is it that we're saying, well, I've already closed the book, I'm not giving any chance to rebuild? Is that also negative, or is it just
you know what you're doing? You're kind of saying I have a zero tolerance
Right.
approach. Okay. And that's shaky ground. Let me share something with you, Sir Twin. I would never, I hope that as many people as possible never have to experience infidelity. I hope that's my prayer for everyone, Guess what though, Sir Twin?
It will happen.
There is a lot of evidence to show that those relationships that are often strongest are ones that have been rebuilt from a breaking of trust. So it's where, so I'm not saying that all relationships where there is cheating or a breaking of trust end up being strong. No, not at all. In fact, most do not. Right? But those where both people are committed to rebuilding the trust and they know they are so ashamed, they want to make right their actions, and they commit to demonstrating to their partner that they have their best interests at heart, and all their actions then align with that. Those are the relationships that are strongest. The metaphor that is often used by couples, the social scientists that are investigating infidelity, they often use that metaphor almost like you get sometimes you get perhaps a wound, right? And the scar tissue comes over, and it's almost like the scar tissue makes that area more fortified than even the more delicate skin that was underneath it, so it's almost like you're healing, and you heal back better than where you started in the first place. Okay, so that can happen, And that has happened in many really strong relationships. It's almost like I break your heart. I'm unfaithful to you, Sir Twain. And when I see the hurt that I have caused you, okay, it's almost like that's my wake-up call to how much this person's life is interdependent with mine. And that's the wake-up call that causes me to move forward, changing my ways. Doesn't happen with many relationships, but when it does, that relationship is so much more fortified than many others. Okay. So I will just share that. I found that a very interesting finding in the research on couples relationships.
So is it safe to say, in relation to this comment, never say never?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, if you are seeing where your partner has like a serial cheater and has no intention of committing, well, the writing is on the wall. That's not a relationship that is going to thrive and be successful. But to have a zero tolerance approach, you're going to have a zero tolerance approach is to forfeit the possibility of a very strong foundation being rebuilt, put it that way, in your relationship. As painful as it will be terrible, it will be devastating, that's for sure. I can't understate that. But I'm just saying that infidelity and cheating is not necessarily the death of a relationship.
Okay. I hope our listeners have taken that to heart and will.
And Twain, I just want to emphasize that this is evidence-based. Okay, yes. This is not anecdotal. It is evidence-based information from the study of thousands and thousands of couples internationally.
Right, and even as you said that, it came back to me what was mentioned at the start of the program or earlier in the program, is that trust takes work. Sometimes it may be on the front end, and sometimes it's on the back end of some hardship that you go through. And we never know when the work will need to be put in, but we should be prepared to put the work in.
Absolutely. And I do want to say something else, that sometimes trust is about the ratio of effort versus failing, because remember, Sir Twain, we are human beings. We are going to mess up. We are going to hurt each other. We are going to let each other down. We are going to let ourselves down. And so sometimes trust building is about making sure that for every time I fall, every time I let you down, I have done 40 things to make up, to show you that I really care, that my objective is your best interest, but at the same time, I'm human. I have what the Bible says, I have feet of clay,
Okay, so we're close to breaking. I don't want to jump into something that I'd have to cut you in the middle of it. So let me remind our listeners and viewers, we want to know your thoughts and your views. We have seen where comments have been coming in, and we want to say keep them coming. So far, WhatsApp seems to be the preferred medium, but here we go. Let's see if we'll get some from Facebook as well as from YouTube Live. How do you build trust and commitment in your relationship? That's what I want your feedback on. Please send your comments via WhatsApp, whether text or voice notes, which are no longer than 30 seconds, to 876-997-3125. You can call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. And of course, you can post on our social media pages. So we're coming back. Do not go anywhere. Think on some of the stuff that we've heard so far and come with your comments after the break.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
We are family.
I am Sarah Ann Edwards, announcer at the family station Love 101. It takes a village to raise a child. Let us all endeavor to look after our nation's children. They are the future of our country. Let's reignite the love.
We are family. Yes, we are.
Is gambling and betting a sin according to the Bible? Does gambling and betting mean you love money? Should Christians participate in gambling? What does the Bible have to say about this? Tuesday, August 30 on The Rock, join host Bishop Hero Steve Blair and guests Father Sean Major Campbell and Reverend Everell Edwards as they discuss the topic gambling and betting. That's The Rock, Tuesday, August 30 at 10 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Love 101 invites you to set your day before it begins with midnight prayer and praise, Mondays at midnight. It's the third prayer watch, a period of much spiritual activity. You will be strengthened during this time of prayer and praise. Midnight prayer and praise is during the third watch of the night, the time to strengthen yourself spiritually and seek direction. Time to command your day. Midnight prayer and praise, Mondays at midnight through to 3 a.m. early Tuesday morning. 3 hours to set your day with prayers offered in each hour. Midnight prayer and praise is on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to Family Time on the family station Love 101 FM. Welcome those on Facebook and YouTube Live. You are at the right place, so move not. Our special guest is Sonia Winter, and she's here answering a lot of questions and giving us some revelation that may be hard pills to swallow. But let's continue to see how we dig in with our special guest. So, before we went to break, we would have been speaking about some questions that the listeners and viewers would have sent in and how they build relationships, with trust and commitment in their relationships. And one person who commented would have mentioned testing their partner, and you said, that's not the best thing to be doing. My question now is, can I do too much to try to prove that you can trust me? It's almost like I'm getting into a overextending, pleasing, and every single thing I do, I'm just trying to stack up things to say, I'm trustworthy, I'm trustworthy. Is there too much we can do?
I'm trying to envision a scenario where that's possible because, if you think about it this way, building trust is about showing your partner that you're attuned to what they are going through, what you then do about it, I suppose, can be perhaps over self-sacrificing, I suppose your actions then can perhaps sacrifice yourself or sacrifice your own values, or something like that. And I suppose that's not sustainable. I mean, once you're taking that route, then you're sort of setting yourself up for resentment eventually if you don't feel that there is a reciprocating effort on the part of the other person. If it's self-sacrificing without any spontaneous return from your partner. I guess that's one of the situations I could envision, I suppose, where my actions, once I understand you, don't serve my interest at all.
Okay, because I'm thinking of a scenario wherein the other partner may become suspicious and they're like, you always seem to be, is anybody ever really going to match up to everything? So it's almost as though they're waiting for the slip. They're waiting for the aha moment. You see, I knew I couldn't trust you for everything. So might as well we just get that over the way. Or it could be a situation where every time I do something, I let you know that, you see, I did it like I said I would. So you're always putting that little part there, like I said I would, to say, yeah, you can trust me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if I've done it, like I said I would, it might be annoying for the other person to hear it. But I don't see where that situation is necessarily self-sacrificing, if you understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I mean, what I guess I would be interested in my therapy room to figure out why the partner feels the need to constantly reinforce that they're trustworthy. I mean, that would be an interesting journey for both of them to go through. You know what I mean? A journey of openness to say, well, this is why I do this. I don't feel secure, or I worry that you don't trust me for X, Y, and Z reasons. I think that is the basis for a very vulnerable conversation between both people.
Okay. And you know what came to mind even as you were speaking? It's a situation where partners believe they're starting at a deficit. So for someone who would have come out of a very difficult or abusive situation, the other partner is trying to overcompensate, as it were, to say, you know what, I'm trying to ensure and tell you that I'll never do that. You'll never be put in that situation with me. So I'm guessing the dynamic there is a bit different. How does
Right,
one
for
work with
sure.
trust and commitment in a situation where one partner is almost prone to mistrusting people? How does one not become annoying, but helps the person to be assured of trust and commitment in that situation?
Okay, so Twain, remember that to build trust, there is a huge component of treating your partner with empathy and understanding. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If it is that I am from a painful past, I have a painful past, and I am now judging you based on my past. Okay. It means that that's going to be hard on you. You now, so Twain, are going to have difficulty trusting me because I'm not treating you with empathy. I am not treating you with understanding. I'm not treating you with, and I'm not showing a curiosity as to what your emotional experience is. So you are not going to feel that I have your best interest at heart, and therefore you are going to have difficulty believing you can trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that? Because of how I am treating you. Remember, trust is a two-way street, and if I am treating you a certain way that you don't deserve, okay, you're not going to trust me. So all the while I'm there focusing on doing all sorts of things to fortify that you are trustworthy, I am hurting you, and therefore pointing out to you that I am not trustworthy from the point of view of putting your best interest showing that I have your best interest in mind.
Okay. And I
Okay,
think,
does that make sense at all? It's always a two-way street. I have to be sure that my actions, whatever I do, is trustworthy too. Is putting your interest ahead of how I might be feeling or something like that. You know what I mean? Of my own.
right. And I see where one listener or viewer by WhatsApp. And let me say, for those sending their comments via WhatsApp, it would be great if you could just put a name, whether it's a name you want to go by or your actual name, so that we can say, X from St. Thomas, or it helps us to identify you. Saying a listener sometimes may not allow you to feel as appreciated as we'd like. So the comment is, it's hard to build trust and commitment if both parties aren't willing to put in the work. And that goes to your point, Sonia. Both parties have to be willing to put in the work. And from what you're saying, then the work doesn't really just stop at doing stuff in the relationship, but it's also personal work. So for somebody who's in a difficult situation, you have to work on yourself so that you're in a place where you can give trust and trust others.
Yes, and Sir Twain, if you don't mind, I would love to just elaborate on what it means to work on yourself. Okay, I think work on yourself in this particular situation that we're talking about, where I have past pain, right? And I'm now in a relationship with you. Working on myself means that in every situation that you and I are engaged in where I feel hurt or I feel untrustworthy, I stop and ask, investigate. I do the introspection to say, why am I feeling this way? Is it about me and my past, or is it about something Sir Twain has done? And try to be brutally honest with myself. And if it is about my past, I need to take responsibility for that and not you know, treat you, you know, give you a hard time about it. I mean, when I am in pain here, you know, my pain, I have to be sure my pain is about your actions and not about my past. That's what working on yourself is, really doing the introspection work and answering that question as honestly as you can.
Well, even though I'm thinking about it, I'm saying posing questions to yourself, that's not always, those aren't always the easiest questions to respond to. Yeah. So that's quite important for us to know. We have to ask ourselves the hard questions and be honest with ourselves and give those honest responses. Is there any comment from YouTube or Facebook just yet? I see we have from WhatsApp any voice notes. I'll take those now as well if there's any. All right, so we don't have any just now. Cool. So as we look at establishing and maintaining trust and commitment, could you elaborate on some of the boundaries? I see that we've been talking about trust a bit. What about the boundary aspect where it comes to commitment? So we know that we want to put ourselves in the best position to trust others and be worthy of the trust that others will invest in us. How about those commitment boundaries?
Yeah. You know what? There's a fantastic metaphor that there is a woman called Shirley Glass, and she did a lot of research on infidelity. And she came up with this metaphor to help couples understand the boundaries that can be so easily violated in betrayal, right? And the metaphor is this one. Think about the notion of walls and windows. Okay. Now, when you and I are in a relationship, we have a wall around us, and we're within this wall, as it were. Okay. There's a wall around us, and then between us, there's a window where we can see each other clearly. Okay. Just imagine that scenario. So the wall separates us from other people. Okay. And in terms of your emotional connection and your physical connection with this person. Okay, but there are times, but we share information through the window between us. Okay, the minute you start confiding in somebody else outside that wall about what's happening within the wall, right? You are almost opening up a window in the wall now, where a person from outside can look through the window into your relationship.
But Sonny, I figure somebody will say they were just looking for advice.
Yes, well, that has to be, it depends on how you're sharing, of course, okay? You have to understand that there are certain ways of sharing that is going to violate the trust of the other person. You know what I mean? It's going to create embarrassment and so on for them and hurt. And so if you're looking for advice, perhaps the best thing to do is be sure how you're going about it. Do so with the knowledge of your partner. You know, let your partner know that, you know, I'm struggling here. You know, your partner should be the first to know. In other words, the window should always be open between you both first.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Always. All right. Ensure that your partner has that opportunity to try to be attuned to
exactly to what you're going through. Somebody earlier, one of your listeners earlier said something about transparency, and that's what I'm talking about. Transparency within within our relationship. Information is always passing back and forth between us, and there's a wall around us that keeps us away, protected from the world, as it were, or other relationships, other, physical and emotional interactions.
Okay, so we're right up on our final break, but I want for you to ponder this before, and so when we come back, you can jump right in with the answer. As you speak about this wall or this perimeter around us, I want to find out: is it that there'll just be an expectations of certain things that will make up that wall, or we have to establish it by a conversation to say this is what we really expect for the boundaries to be. So tune in, everyone. Don't go anywhere. Sonia has not answered the question yet, which means you have to come back. For those who have not yet commented, please send your texts or voice notes to 876-997-3125. Call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 8328. And you can go ahead and post if you're watching by Facebook, YouTube Live, or you can put it in our, you can use Instagram to go ahead and connect with us. So I'll see you after the break for that answer from Sonia.
It's who I ticket.
Hush, child. Me no want them see we.
But mommy, is the census takers?
Me not tell them my business.
But mommy, they need information about all the households to help make decisions about where to put things like clinics, stores, and new roads.
So?
Come, mommy. You count, me count, all our count.
Census Day is September 12th. Look out for the national census takers in your community and let them know you count.
We are family.
I am Sarah Ann Edwards, announcer at the family station Love 101. It takes a village to raise a child. Let us all endeavor to look after our nation's children. They are the future of our country. Let's reignite the love.
We are family. Yes, we are.
Sometimes all we need is a listening ear. The listening ear, the counseling, the logical reasoning, and spiritual guidance are what appeal to us. That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, the counselor, your counselor on Love 101 FM, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. You know you can call on me. I will listen and more. So let's talk about what's bothering you. Anything. Tune in, listen, call in, text or voice message. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, counseling psychologist, ready with a listening ear. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. Right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
Thanks for sticking with us. We are back here on Family Time. And yes, you're tuned in to Love 101, the family station. Family Time is brought to you by Family Life Ministries, FLM. FLM provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Listen out for our numbers in Kingston and Portmore at the end of this program. Remember, we're also on FB and YouTube Live, so tune into the program via the Love 101 Facebook page as well as the YouTube channel. The topic for today is establishing trust and commitment, and we're deep into it, but if you missed it, you can always go back and watch what you missed on YouTube. Associate Clinical Psychologist Sonia Winter is our guest, and she will be going a bit deeper into a question I already asked. Sonia, are you ready with the answer?
Yes. Okay. So you're saying, is it useful to first establish what the boundaries are in a relationship? Was that the question? Okay.
Versus having the expectation that these are what they are.
Right. Of course, that's useful. It is useful, but it is important to bear in mind that you're probably not going to think of all the possible eventualities that could cause hurt.
Definitely.
Right? There's a good chance that you're going to miss quite a few. And life is so funny. Life is so, unpredictable sometimes, right? And so in addition to having those very candid conversations, it's what is another guide, another rule of thumb is thinking about that very same metaphor, if it helps you. the one about windows and walls, right? If it once you find yourself opening a window of information to somebody else, that's a kind of slippery slope, especially if that window almost becomes a doorway where somebody can walk through into your relationship, and then as a result, you're doing it. You're building a wall now between you and your partner. Does that mean because you're not letting your partner know what's happening? Okay,
Yeah.
then you know that you're violating some boundaries there, even if they weren't discussed. So once you find yourself deliberately withholding information from your partner, and you're confiding is important thing, confiding in somebody else, you know that you're kind of on a cliff edge right there in terms of violating boundaries.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
yes,
So
it does, and it's bringing a couple scenarios to mind. I was listening a program recently when the wife was explaining that she felt a bit detached from her husband, but she didn't feel as though she could just open up and tell him because she was worried that he'd probably leave or what his reaction would be like. And when she eventually started pouring out her soul, as it were, to some man outside of the relationship, it ended up becoming an affair. So we can see where they getting others involved, and then she just didn't want to tell her husband what was going on. So I can see where that would definitely be a barrier and an impediment to having that faithfulness and the commitment that you're speaking of.
the word is confide. If I am confiding in somebody else, Sir Twin, and you and I are in a relationship, I know I'm hiding, then that transparency is becoming opaque.
Yes.
and I know that there is a breaking of trust. I am breaking a trust right there.
Right. Another comment from WhatsApp, I think this one is related to what you would have mentioned before we went to break. It says, the one with the painful past should get therapy. It's unreasonable to require an itinerary of your life. That person is not relationship ready. Strong stuff. Strong words right there from that listener. But Sonia, we've been talking about how to establish trust and commitment. What do we do? How do we react when we find that the trust and the commitment is absent? What is the best way, that 1 2 3, if there's any such formula? What can we do when we find that trust is absent, commitment not really there again? Some people may say, well, we just leave the relationship. Is that the only thing we can do?
Well, yeah, I would say you have three choices, Sir Twin.
Okay,
One,
1 2 3
yes, you
is there.
can leave. You can end the relationship. Okay? You can stay in the relationship and don't make any changes. You can stay in the relationship and try to rebuild it. It seems to me those are the three options that you have. Okay? And there are a lot of external variables that might determine, which of those three you choose.
So let's imagine that the couple, they were having a great marriage, and then there was some break, and both seem as though they want to make it work. How should they deal with the roadblock that they would have encountered?
Yes, for sure. It's about reestablishing transparency. Another metaphor, I speak in metaphors a lot because it helps people to understand complex ideas. Another metaphor that they use is that sometimes some betrayals and some big breaking of trust are so profound that you have to think of your relationship in terms of relationship 1 and relationship 2. And you have to think if you think of it, that relationship 1 has been destroyed, it's ended, it's over, it has exploded, it's over, put it behind you. And what you're now going to do, we are going to build a brand new relationship from scratch. New guidelines, new behaviors, new attitudes, new expectations. Starting again from scratch, and we're building a new relationship number 2. Okay? And then with a new attitude, and now is when we start implementing all of those rules of attunement, where we are now committing, these are the guidelines we're now going to abide by. I am going to be transparent with you in all that I do and say. There will also have to be a time of, I call it training wheels, right? And training wheels means that it's not so comfortable, I will admit, but training wheels is where I have broken your trust, Sir Twain. So it's hard for you to believe me now in what I say. It's hard for you to just instinctively say, okay, I trust what you're saying. It's not going to work like that. But what can help in the rebuilding of trust is what they call a third party confirmation. So and that will provide a training wheel to help sometimes in the rebuilding of trust. So for example, let's say I was unfaithful to you. It might mean then that for a period of time, I'm willing to let you see my phone, for example, so that to reassure you that what I say is really true. Or I go somewhere and you have my, it's very uncomfortable, it's true.
It sounds uncomfortable already.
It's very uncomfortable. Or I go somewhere and I show you where I am on my camera, but there's an external confirmation of what I'm saying, because in your heart, because you can say, yes, Sonia, okay, I trust you, but you're fooling yourself. You can't just switch that flick a switch of trust and you suddenly trust me like that. So sometimes what's required is those training wheels to almost rebuild the trust. Or let's say I promise you I will stay away from wherever it was that the betrayal took place. I will stop traveling, or I'll stop staying overnight in the country or whatever. But I'm going to do things now for at least for a period of time to show you that I'm committed to you, and that rebuilding your trust in me is of paramount importance to me. So it's going to cause me some discomfort, yes. But you trusting me again is important enough to me for me to make that sacrifice.
Okay. Interesting stuff. I see we have another WhatsApp comment, which I definitely want to share. It says, I build trust and commitment in my relationship by giving my partner the benefit of the doubt and asking questions instead of accusing him by telling him that. Instead of accusing him and by telling him that I trust him. So 3 things: giving the benefit of the doubt, asking questions instead of accusing, and also assuring the person that she trusts him. Yeah, interesting.
Right, but I think she has to recognize that her actions is increasing the probability that her partner is going to act in ways that are trustworthy. That's true. It's increasing the probability. But it is his actions that is going to make her trust him more than trust him more than anything else. So she can be doing all of that, and he's busy doing other things. She's not going to trust him. So if she's doing all of that and he's hiding his phone from her when he's talking to her, I think she's going to automatically have insecurities, and her trust is going to be wobbly. So it's really what he does that is the most significant contributor to whether she trusts or not.
Okay. And this one seems like the question for the road. As a counselor, can someone be counseled into trusting? Can they be counseled into committing?
I would say yes, from this point of view. We've had a really good discussion in understanding the definition of trust and commitment and what it looks like in a relationship. Okay. Sometimes people come to a relationship and they're ignorant of what it means and what it represents. So in therapy, I spend a lot of time explaining what trust looks like, what commitment looks like, because there are cliche definitions out there that don't really have any bearing on reality, if you understand what I'm saying. So in counseling therapy, a lot of it is educating couples, so that at least they have the information and they can then choose. Does that make sense? So for instance, I explained already that there's a lot of evidence to show that it is attunement in small interactions that will build trust. So that's something I would share with the couple. I say, okay, We're going to do some practices. I'm going to show you what attunement looks like. I'll coach you. We'll practice here and so on. We'll have a conversation of attunement. Okay? And they then have the skills, and then it's up to them to choose.
Yeah, definitely. That's the final word there. It's up to you, listeners and viewers, to choose. Thank you very much, Sonia Winter, for your expert treatment of this topic. Happy to have had you here.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So, if you out there have any questions of a personal nature, or you are concerned about a friend or family member, call us at Family Life Ministries. For our center in Portmore at 117 Cecile Avenue, use 876-939-7917. For more information on our services or for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, contact our head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Please note that appointments are only made by calling the offices. Don't just pop up hoping that we'll be accommodating. Please keep up to date with what's happening with FLM and our programs. You can use our social media handles. Facebook, you go to FLM Family Life Ministries. You can subscribe to our Facebook channel at Family Life Ministries FLMJA. Here's the verse for the road. Deuteronomy 6 and verse 5. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. Join us again at 5:30 next Monday, whether love or one of our social media pages for family time. Thanks again to Sonia Winter, our show producer Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications, studio facilitator Timoy Butler, and of course our listeners and viewers. This is Sir Twain saying be blessed, be safe, and see you next time.